Hello everyone! Welcome to another episode of Let's Have Renaissance with the DateKeepers. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you are enjoying your day wherever you are. I am Ito Otini.
And I'm Makaya Otini, and today we're going to be talking about book coaching, what it is, whether you need it, and how to get the most out of a professional support system so that you can build a sustainable artistic career. Okay, book coaching. What is book coaching? What does a book coach do?
It depends on where you are. For example, if you are just thinking about writing your book, a book coach helps you brainstorm and put an outline together. If you have a draft, they will help point out things that you might not see, simply because they're not as close to your book as you are.
Usually the book coach will focus on helping you develop your book idea, helping you develop the outline, as Ito said, helping you develop a writing routine, remaining accountable. Often book coaches double as cheerleaders, helping you remain motivated as you work through the often challenging process of writing a book and bringing it to market.
There are book coaches for different genres. So if you are writing horror and you hire a book coach, like a nonfiction book coach, that might not go well for you. You want someone who will believe in your book the same way you do, someone who cares about your book the same way you do.
You may or may not need a coach, depending on where you're at in the writing process and how much experience you have. That said, it's always useful to have other people around to bounce ideas off of. If you don't hire a coach, hopefully you have friends, you have fellow writers, you have a writing community, and they will play a similar role in your writing process that a coach might.
Some people just see online that some author had a book coach and they feel like they have to have one, or they're not even ready. For example, I had a person who reached out to us and said, I want to write my book, and they got really excited, and I kind of sensed that the person was not ready. And then I got I think 9 or 12 pages. That was a book. And I said, no, you have to have a routine, you have to have an outline. And the person was like, no, I think I'll come back to this 10 years later. So you have to know that you are ready, because a book coach is different than a ghostwriter. A ghostwriter is someone who interviews you and then they write your book for you.
You still do need to engage with the ghostwriter. You'll have to answer questions and probably read drafts and give them feedback, but a ghostwriter is much more independent. With a book coach, you're still doing the bulk of the work.
Some book coaches, depending on you again, they will just provide you with emotional support, especially in nonfiction. Some people go with therapists and book coaches. Some people just book coaches, depending on you. But
on
really,
your insurance.
And your insurance too. Well, but really, it's case by case. But if you are a good writer, a good editor, good at managing your time, you know your writing time, you know your schedule, you know that you are capable of holding yourself accountable. So you don't need a book coach.
It's not just a matter of confidence, it's also a matter of self-knowledge. We've met people who are very, very confident that they can write their book on their own without any support structure, without any feedback, and they have everything in terms of confidence, but they don't really have the skills to back that up. But if you know where your skill level is at, where your level of discipline is at, if you have good reason to be confident, then you certainly should consider working independently without a book coach. But if you know that you don't have all of those skills, or maybe you have the skills but you don't have the discipline to apply them on your own, or maybe you have both the skills and the discipline but you know that you're going to get traumatized, demotivated by the material that you're working with, or that you have challenges that are cropping up in your life that are going to get between you and your project, and you need somebody to help you field those, then it really may be worth investing in a book coach.
Those skills, let's talk about those skills. A lot of skills are required to write a book.
Often books get made even if no one person involved in that process has all these skills, because people come together and they pool their skills. But to make a book, to make it good, to make it worth reading, first, before you even need to know how to write, you need to know how to tell a story. You need to know how to engage your audience and tell a story that is meaningful, that is in some way exciting. It doesn't have to be an adventure narrative, but it has to be exciting in that it stimulates the reader in some way, maybe intellectually, maybe emotionally. You have to connect with the reader on that narrative level. So you have to understand what a story is and how to tell it and what kind of stories people respond to.
And this is where your book coach comes in. If you are not a good storyteller and you have a book coach who is not a good storyteller, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, no, you definitely will be in trouble. Someone involved in your book needs to be a good storyteller. Hopefully that's you. If it's not you, then hopefully it's your book coach or somebody very close to you who can give you real, honest feedback before you start putting words on paper. Next in that hierarchy is writing. It's really cliched to say that the best way to get good at writing is to read a lot, but it's still true. You have to read a lot. Ideally, you read a lot across a variety of genres with an extra emphasis on whichever genres you yourself would like to be writing so that you can learn the rules and conventions. And we're talking about all the way from the sentence level up to how whole narratives are structured.
And that's, again, where your book coach comes in.
What you're hiring the book coach for is to fill in whatever gaps you have. So maybe you're a very good writer, but you're not a good storyteller. And in that case, you're hiring a book coach to help you figure out what your story is, and then you will be able to tell it because you have the technical skills, but you won't be able to go anywhere with just those technical skills alone. Returning to the list of skills that you need to make a book, you need to be a good storyteller, or you need to have a good storyteller on board. You need to have a good writer. You also need discipline, because if you have all of the skills, the hard and soft skills that you need, but you don't have the discipline or the capacity to sit down and work every day or every week to implement them, nothing is going to come out of that. That's why a lot of people hire ghostwriters. Often it's because they don't have the skills, but sometimes they have the skills, but they don't have the time. You need to know that you can create a writing routine that will work within your schedule, and you need to be willing and reasonably confident that you can stick to that routine. And if that's something that gives you difficulty, either because of your internal makeup or because of your life circumstances, it might be worth investing in a coach who's going to hold you to account. So that's what a book coach is. That's what a book coach does. Let's say you do need one. How do you find one?
Well, there are different ways. For example, you can do a Google search, just, like what we do with everything. Whenever we want to find something, we look online. You will get a lot of results. The best way to filter is you look for the genre. What is your genre? Are you writing literary fiction, nonfiction? Also, are you looking for a coach in your country, or you are fine with anyone anywhere in the world?
And this is where those questions that we were discussing really come into play. Because, for example, if you need a coach, if you are a good storyteller but you need a coach to help you with your writing, you might not want to hire a coach from another country where, let's say English in this case, is not that person's native language, because they might not be able to help you as much. However, if you're a good writer but you are struggling with storytelling, you can hire a coach from anywhere. You might actually be better off hiring a coach from a country or culture or region where there's a strong oral tradition, because they'll be able to give you support that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, and they'll be able to help you with storytelling techniques that you might not have been exposed to and that a lot of people in your country and culture would not have been exposed to. So think about what you need and where you can find those skills while you're conducting your search.
And if you find someone from another culture, I personally like working with people from different cultures. That way I learn from them. You expose your work to a reader who is not familiar with your customs.
And then they can give you feedback on how legible your narrative is to someone outside of what you maybe imagine is your target audience, because often books find audiences outside of the country and culture where they were written. That happens if what you've written transcends the specificities of your culture and appeals to a broader audience at a deeper level. And that can happen, I wouldn't say by accident, it can happen organically. It can happen just because you're a talented storyteller, but it's more likely to happen if you're working with someone who can help you craft a narrative that taps into that deeper level of human instincts.
Now, let's say you have a list of book coaches. How do you choose which one to go with? The best way is to interview them. When you interview them, ask them any question that comes to your mind. Book coaching is a very intimate relationship, especially when it comes to nonfiction. There's a lot of sensitive things that are being discussed, and the feedback might come across as that book coach is being harsh. But if you know them personally during that maybe first or even the first 3 meetings with them, you get to know their jokes, you get to know when they are serious, you get to know their feedback style, and you can talk about how you want them to give you feedback and all of that good stuff.
And you can't determine any of that just by seeing where they show up in a Google search or how highly the Google AI ranks them. I hope we all know by now, but I think a lot of people are still adjusting to how search works. But there are a number of factors that influence who and what gets to the top of that hierarchy, and often it's how much media coverage that person or organization has had. Quality is not in and of itself something that Google measures. There are proxies for quality which might influence that decision, but you might find the coach who's best for you way far down that hierarchy of search results. So don't just trust what the AI spits out. A lot of those, especially the first 3 or 4 that show up, are often the paid sponsored ads. So they might be the best book coaches, but maybe they're just the organization that has the most money. You might be better off working with somebody who doesn't affiliate with that organization, but has skills that organization does not provide.
Another way to find a book coach is you actually know someone who knows them through a word of mouth, referrals. That way you don't have to worry because you trust that person and that person trusts that book coach. You still need to interview them, but it's easier to hire a book coach that you know through someone than just a random person because of what you read about them online.
Yeah, if you can vet someone through your community, your network of people who know one another personally, that still is not a perfect way of filtering because you are going to have your own idiosyncratic needs and wants and personality traits that may or may not mesh with that book coach, but it's a much better metric than just trusting what a machine spits out. Machines like Google are excellent for reach and quantity and giving you more options, but they're not necessarily going to be the best tool for filtering and ranking those options to see what works best for you.
We wanted to give you the tools to make an informed decision about whether you even need a book coach in the first place. Now it's time to talk about what we do and why we call ourselves full-service book coaches. We are writers ourselves, and we know what it takes to put a book together, and not just to put it together, but also how to get it out into the world. We write literary fiction and creative nonfiction, and that's what we offer you support with as book coaches.
In addition to all of the things that we have already mentioned, so brainstorming, outlining, accountability, writing routine, etc., we also offer editing, which is something that many book coaches do not offer. We offer all levels of editing, so beginning with manuscript analysis, then proceeding to developmental editing, structural editing, copy editing, proofreading. If you're not aware of the differences between those different levels of editing, we'll have another episode in the future where we discuss them in detail, so just sit tight. But we offer a full suite of editorial services here, so no matter what stage your book is at, we can support you with that. We try to provide as much as we can under one roof, so you don't have to be constantly bouncing from one service provider to another.
We also offer support for people who have finished their manuscript. We help you figure out how to publish it and where to publish it.
And there are many different paths to publication. There's always trade-offs involved, so we'll help you conduct research, figure out what your book is, where it fits into the market, who your audience is, and what sort of trade-offs are going to be best for you.
In addition to that, we help you build a strategy as well as a platform. We all need those platforms, whether we like them or not. We need to be on social media and use it, post, and try to connect with our audience. But without a strategy, that cannot be done. So our goal is to help you build a platform and strategies that you can use for the rest of your life.
If you're putting together applications for funding or for residencies where you can go to work on your book in a peaceful, quiet environment that's away from your ordinary life, we will be glad to support you with that.
We'll help you publish your short work also in what we call literary magazines. That is a topic for another episode, but we will help you publish essays, short stories, excerpts from your books, whether that's a memoir or a novel. Of course, standalone excerpt, because that's a way to show that you are actually a serious writer. In order for you to publish long form, publishing short work is very, very important.
We will help you find or connect you with content producers and media outlets, both traditional and non-traditional, who will help you promote your work and get it out to a wider audience.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. When you work with us, we do everything within our power to invest in you and your work. If you are looking for a service that we don't offer, for example, cover design or ghostwriting, we are happy to connect you with a service provider in our network, someone who is reliable and trustworthy.
If we help you write and launch one successful book, that's great, but we would not consider our work to be done. We want to hook you up with everything you're going to need to make not only this book successful, but also the next, and to build a sustainable artistic career. That's why we put this episode together, and that's why we've got more coming in the future. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon.